It was Christmas Eve, and I was a freshman in high school. My family has been split up for some time, so normally we trade off Christmas Day and Christmas Eve every year. And this year, I had come home early from my grandparents' Christmas party while everyone else was at my aunt's and uncle's celebrating other parties. When I was dropped off, my cousins offered to stay with me for a few hours, yet I declined. I thought I could watch some of my new DVDs and get some home alone time in the house, which is a rarity. I had noticed an unfamiliar car parked on the street, but I didn't think anything of it considering it was Christmas Eve. Probably some neighbors, relatives, or something. After I got inside, I locked the door, grabbed snacks, and started to settle down. I hadn't been home for more than 15 minutes when there was a knock at the door. I unlocked the door and opened it a crack to see a man standing there. He had dark hair, glasses, slightly overweight, and dressed casually. He didn't look like much of a threat, but my stomach dropped as he asked, "I was wondering about the car outside. Is it for sale?" I told him I didn't think so. "Is there someone here that I can talk to about?" I said no, you can come back another time. I then shut the door and turned the lock as fast as I could. He reached for the handle immediately and started pounding on the door. I heard a string of profanities, and the pounding stopped. Terrified, I was crawling on the floor to the phone hoping he wouldn't be able to see me through one of the windows. And then I heard the noise. Our house had an open garage door, and it led through the laundry room, where the door lock was broken and no one had bothered to fix it. Just then, I heard a man yell, and I saw the man through the window run to his car and drove off. My uncle had gotten him just in time and scared the man off. Who knows what he could have done if he hadn't made it home in time. Unfortunately, we didn't get the plate number, and nothing has ever came of it, but I'll never be home alone on the holiday again. This story took place only last week, just before Christmas, when me and my friends decided to go out for a few drinks at a Christmas. It was a usual night, a bit busier than normal night, but it was a great atmosphere. We went to the usual bar we go to that stole special craft beers which we loved. While in there, my other colleague friends was there that I haven't seen in a while and was catching up with them. He suggested that we should go to this new bar across the street. We finished our drinks and went across to this new place, and it was amazing. The place was jam-packed, but had a great welcoming atmosphere. So we managed to get the table, and when we ordered, I had to use the bathroom. While walking to the bathroom, I passed this black-haired girl who seemed to say hi to me while checking me out. I said hi to her back and proceeded to use the bathroom. I returned to the table when my colleague's friend said, "I have to go." So we said our goodbyes and finished our drinks. My other friend suggested that we should go to this late night bar, and so we went there. Getting in, the place was quiet than usual, but it was mainly couples, but we stayed and ordered our drinks. A few hours later passed when these three girls came in and were at the bar ordering. They were very drunk, and who was with them? That black-haired girl was there. She seemed nice and smiled at me, and I just smiled back at her. About 10 minutes later, she came over to my table and said my name. I just looked at her and looked at my friends, which also looked puzzled. What scared me the most is what she said next. She told me my address, hometown, who I was and all my family. Puzzled, I asked her how did she know so much information about me. She said, "No, I just know you. I never seen this woman in my whole life. Just in the other bar earlier, she started talking to my friend, and then I seen her other friend looked in horror and walked over and grabbed the black-haired girl away from us. We just looked at each other stunned, like what just happened. We decided to go out to the smoking area to have a smoke. While walking to the table, I passed this small blonde woman who called me by my name, and I just said hi to her. Puzzled, I slightly looked back in that direction where she was with another girl, and I heard her say to her, 'Fuck.' I called him by his name, and they left. We soon left and nothing crazy happened since. Nearly everywhere I go, people always come up and talk to me. I seem like a friendly face, but I have a few shares of creepy encounters. This one was by far the most creepiest one. There's a lot that has happened within our family before this event, so let me explain. My mom's brother, who for the sake of this story I'll call Clark, has been married to this woman for over 20 years now, and they had one child together. Growing up, I have always been told that my aunt was a little off and was instructed by my mother to stay clear of her if I had ever had the chance. She seemed pretty normal to me until I was around 10 when she started harassing my mother and my grandparents. She would hit on my grandfather and showed up to their house unannounced and would occasionally try to start fights. We had to block her on all of her phones, and my uncle was told that she was no longer allowed in ours and our grandparents' property. Years had gone by without much issue towards us, but for the past few years, she has been mentally abusing my uncle along with my cousin, and once, in a fit of rage, she peed on the floor in front of my cousin. Yes, full on splattered and relieved herself. My cousin has since moved out. With all the background information out of the way, let's get to the main story. It was Christmas Eve a year ago, and as for tradition, we were having dinner at my grandparents' house. It was my grandparents, mom, dad, brother, uncle, cousin, and their dog, Holly. We were at the dinner table, which is in the view of the porch windows, when we heard the doorbell ring furiously and the door being pounded on. As we looked over the windows, who did we see? Her. My uncle gets up and goes out to talk to her. From the table, we can hear a bit of the yelling, and my uncle opens the door to come back when all of a sudden she grabs the dog and threatens it to take away if my uncle didn't give her money. At this point, my parents are outside watching all of this along with a few neighbors. My uncle gets in the car with her, and before she gets in to drive, she yells, "What the fuck are you looking at? I know I'm beautiful, and God loves me." Then, she gets in the car and speds off. So we were all at the windows, stunned and confused. All the while, my cousin is texting his father to make sure he's okay. He let us know that he is, and that he was going to an ATM to get her some money so that they could leave her alone. About an hour or so later, my uncle gets back with the dog and tells us that she was basically holding him hostage because he didn't give her enough money. But finally, after a bit of bribing, she brought him back, and I haven't seen her since. The rest of the night obviously had a lot of tension, and I watched the road behind us all the way home, as I was scared that she was going to follow us. Since the incident, things have escalated at their house. We had found out that she was doing drugs and has been cheating on my uncle for a while now. For those asking why we didn't call the cops, he told us not to. I really don't know why, but he hasn't done much about her except to tell her that he wants a divorce, but nothing has came of that.